Hey friends, this is Pop Culture Makes Me Jealous, where we discuss pop culture through the lens of race or gender, and sometimes both. I'm your host, Julia Washington, and on today's show, I'm discussing the 1998 Teen School Is Out movie, Can't Hardly Wait. Carly and Becca are back, and you know what that means, so buckle up, Buttercup. Can't Hardly Wait was released June 12th, 1998, just in time for graduation weekend. But before we dive in, let's say hello to my guests. Carly Adams, Becca Montes, they're back. Hey friends, welcome.
Hi.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us back. I'm so excited about this one.
Oh yeah.
So much to say.
There's a lot. I can't wait. So we're going to kick it off with a summary of the movie for those of you who don't watch movies in a different century. From a different century. On the night of graduation, everyone imaginable from Huntington High attends the end of the year party of all parties. But one young teen plans to profess his undying love for the most beautiful girl in school, and he plans to do so at the party. This movie stars all of the 90s heartthrobs: Ethan Embry, Jennifer Love Hewitt, Peter Facinelli, just to name a few. This movie released the weekend of my 8th grade graduation, so naturally setting up an unfair expectation for what high school parties, especially graduation parties, should look like. And the reviews, the reviews. The New York Times said, so originality is not the strong suit of Can't Hardly Wait, which was written and directed by Harry Elfont and Deborah Kaplan. But these two, whose earlier writing credits include A Very Brady Sequel, Homeward Bound 2, and Jingle All the Way, do show easygoing humor and the wisdom to borrow well. Their film at various times recalls tender-hearted coming-of-age comedies from American Graffiti onward, with strong homage to the works of Cameron Crowe, Amy Heckerling, and John Hughes. Roger Ebert gave this film a 1.5 stars and seemed pained to lump it into the category with other teen movies like Say Anything, American Graffiti, Dazed and Confused, Fast Times at Ridgemont High, and Porky's. But the SF Gate said, Can't Hardly Wait has freshness, comic invention, and an engaging romantic spirit. Thank you, San Francisco. So let's start with, did you like this movie and why?
I friggin' love this movie. It was the best. I remember, I think I had it on VHS. I think I did. I think I wanted it on VHS. Yeah. I have it on DVD somewhere. Wherever my DVDs are. They've been boxed up because the baby likes to open them up.
Yeah.
Also, they're obsolete. So, just like you, Julia, we graduated from 8th grade at the same time. Different schools.
Yeah.
Same time.
Mm-hmm.
At my school, when you got out of 8th grade, like when you graduated, that day was a minimum day for some reason. So the plan was like the last Friday, it was like you had a minimum day, and then it was like minimum day, graduation rehearsal, and then like 5 hours later, you're going to come back for graduation. So between the graduation rehearsal and graduation, we're like, let's go catch a matinee. Let's go see that new Jennifer Love Hewitt movie.
Yeah.
So a group of like 10 of us went to the movies together, and it was like probably the first time that I ever went to the movies just with my friends. And I definitely remember like going to the movies, watching it, like laughing, crying, like being so into it, and like just remembering like the feeling of like, this is what I have to look forward to.
Yes.
This is going to be my next 4 years. Like I didn't have the expectation that like that's how high school parties were going to be, but I had the expectation that at that moment, I had culminated my junior high experience, and I knew that in 4 years, that was going to be my future.
Yeah.
And I was going to be Jennifer Love Hewitt, and someone was going to profess their love to me, and it wasn't going to be my second cousin by marriage.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, so gross.
So gross. But also, cousin could get it. Like if they weren't
cute. He was cute.
He was yeah, he was cute, but also he gross. So
yeah.
Also me too.
You mean you're gross too?
No means no. Me too.
Yeah,
Hashtag
no.
Got it.
Yeah.
Kylie.
I am gross though.
So I love this. I don't remember exactly when I saw it for the first time, but I love movies that take place in a day.
Yes.
I love that. Like 200 Cigarettes, Empire Records. So like 90s movies, one day, giant cast, I'm here for it. And they make me so happy. But yeah, this one is like so silly, but I feel like it just beautifully captures this moment where you're kind of leaving childhood behind and like moving on to this big next chapter. And I will forever have love in my heart for this film.
Same. I loved this movie. I was like, but also when I was watching it yesterday in preparation for our conversation, I was like, we were supposed to buy that Peter Facinelli and his friend group were high schoolers.
Oh my God.
I totally bought it 20 plus years ago, but now I'm just like, that fool with the blonde hair who's dating what's her face, who's in also every
Jamie Presley.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Clearly looks like a grown-ass man. I can't believe I ever thought he was in high school in 1998. Anyway, but
like this is one of the one movies, because this is the third movie we're talking about now. This is one of the one movies where the actors weren't in high school. Because the other movies, like Larissa Olnick was like 16 when she was in 10 Things I Hate About You. Same thing with Julia Stiles. Same thing with, like, they were like,
they were younger. They were
younger.
Yeah.
They were like playing someone their age. This is like the beginning of those movies where it's like, no, but no.
You guys,
like,
the guy who played that blonde jock, his name is Shannon Rowe. I just looked it up and he was born in 1969.
Whoa. So he was like a 31-year-old, 29-year-old man. No wonder I didn't buy it as I'm playing high school.
I mean, he was Gabrielle Union, because
Gabrielle Union still looks like she's 25.
Still looks
to this day, could still be cast in the movie. And I
would buy it.
I didn't even believe Freddie Rodriguez in that. He's 1975.
So he's like 24, 23.
Yeah, that's my gosh, wild. Yeah, that whole, I love that whole group. We'll get into it though.
Yeah, we'll get into it.
I love how when you look on like IMDb, like they don't say their names. It's just like Jock 1, Jock 2, Jock 3. Just like, her name is Rachel. She has a name. Yeah.
But that's their credit name.
Yeah. Their credit name is like, they're credited as friend group 1.
I loved this movie so much. And I have to admit, I think in high school, I maybe had 2 parties that were like this caliber that I went to. So, that expectation came to fruition. So thanks. Good job, everybody.
I mean, definitely in college, like I went to parties like this. In college, I went to parties like this.
Yes.
And they always gave me anxiety. So I never liked going to parties like this.
Oh my God, I love
I think the only thing close to a party like this was I was invited to a birthday party for like one of the richest girls in school, who's like mom and dad have a private plane, and like they had a DJ and they got a dance floor, but it was like essentially like a wedding at her house. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't like a rager, we're going to destroy everything.
Well, I don't think the intention is to destroy everything. I think just naturally happens over the
that naturally happens when you invite, which is why I don't invite people to come to my house.
Yeah.
But yeah, I loved this movie.
I loved it. So, and Ethan Embry, oh my God. I mean, you mentioned Empire Records. Like, oh my God. I loved him so much in that movie.
I used to watch that so much that we had friends specifically when they came over say like,
can we not watch that?
Can we not watch that again? Please?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, and he was in That Thing You Do, and I just loved him in That Thing You Do.
I love That Thing You Do.
But in Empire Records, he's credited as Ethan Randall. He didn't change his name until a little bit later.
Oh, interesting.
There's a fun fact.
Dude, yeah. I gotta say, I didn't watch this movie to prepare for it because I'd watched it on my own so recently that I was like, I mean, I watched it like a month ago. Do I need to read? I think I'm good.
No, I literally hadn't seen this movie for like probably like 15 years. Maybe like 10 years. Been a long time.
That's a fresh perspective. I watch
it once a year.
Funny thing is now I'm friends with someone who went to high school with Charlie Cormo,
Mhm.
the kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, he went to high school with him.
Wow.
And he's like,
Which
like,
he
yeah.
didn't even want to do that movie because he was like such a childhood actor guy. Like it took a lot of coaxing for him to do the movie.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
But it was like the last movie he ever did.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, and I'm out.
Yeah.
Well, and then I guess he's slated, I read somewhere he's slated to work on something like coming up. So he could be back, but he went to like Yale and I want to say Harvard or was it
or like
Yale and
MIT.
Princeton?
Yeah,
he was
he
like
did
super
the
smart.
Ivies. Yeah.
That's right. He went to 2 Ivy League schools and then became like a big shot lawyer. I want to say, is that right?
That sounds right.
Amazing. Loved him in
He's
Hook.
like,
yes, in Hook, he was so good in Hook.
He's like the Mayim Bialik of boy child actors.
Yes.
Doing the most.
Yes. Ugh.
Anyway.
If you find yourself stressed by the clutter of your home and wish you could create simple solutions that are easy to maintain, Carly Adams will teach you exactly what to do in her clutter-free home process course community. Learn the process she uses with every client, tips to help you think like a home organizer, and get personalized accountability for a full year. Join the community April 28th through May 6th and receive never offered bonuses that are too long to list here. But believe me, you won't want to miss them. Check out tidyrevival.com/pop to learn more. Friends, if you're listening to this episode after May 6th, 2022, still head to Tidy Revival to learn more about all the programs Carly Adams has to offer. The whole premise of the movie, if you hadn't catched it yet by our conversation, begins when Ethan Embry's character, Preston Myers, learns that the love of his life in high school, Amanda, played by Jennifer Love Hewitt, has been dumped by Mike Dexter, the hottest football player and possibly the hottest guy in school. He does so because he is under the impression that his life will be better in college and he wants to be free and clear with no attachments because he's a fucking douchebag. Preston's best friend, Denise, isn't so convinced that Preston's plan is a good idea, and a bunch of other shenanigans are going on around them. This movie is a hodgepodge of stories that are on the peripheral of Preston's mission and yet crucial to him achieving his goal, which leads me to favorite characters and side story and why.
Here you go.
I am going to say William. I freaking love William. I love that he is.
I have no legs.
I love that he's
down to the Paradise City.
I like that he's like gone in with this like scientific mindset of like infiltrating the party, but he's like, no, don't worry, guys. I've like calculated how much I can drink without having my impairment. Like
he printed it from the net, which nobody calls the net anymore.
Yeah, got this off the net.
I love that his friends like get stuck on the roof and are just like hanging out there. I love that he becomes like the life of the party. And then I love the 3 jocks and their girlfriends and how they're like gonna break up, but they like actually
but they don't.
They really like their girlfriends, so they don't. I just the side characters so good.
Yeah.
My favorite character in the entire movie is Kenny Fisher because he is ridiculous.
Yes, those goggles.
That's green. We love you.
Perfectly cast.
Perfectly cast.
That character could not have been played any better by anyone else.
And he's just like,
Seth Green's
and Denise
perfection.
being like, why do you talk like that? You know you're white. Look in the mirror.
Which is a GIF that I saw online, and it's so good. Oh my gosh, and his sex kit,
the sex backpack.
With like candles and
the Kama Sutra book. Because he's gonna have time. He's like, I know, he's like, to the bathroom.
When he was practicing and he had like the leg up.
He's
and
like,
he was
this won't work. And he's like, oh yeah. And I just like, even though I hated what a douchebag he was, afterwards, after him and Denise get together, he's like, it's not my fault you don't got the flavor.
Oh, that was so shitty. But it was like, couldn't stop laughing. It's like, this motherfucker, I hate you. And then I'm like,
when he's originally hearing the girls talking and she's like, the first guy who hits on me, I'll have sex with him.
Yeah.
The first guy who talks to me, he's like, whoa.
I also love, this is just a side note, but I love the casting of Denise and Kenny because I like that Kenny's like a little guy and Denise isn't like this scrawny girl. She's like a
Normal,
regular size girl. And
Yeah.
like, just, I think that made me really happy at the time and now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't disagree. Like, I agree with both of you. Like, William's storyline is he is so dedicated to getting his like vindication with
Mike Dexter.
And it just, you clearly can tell he's never been to a party before. This isn't his story, and he just has the best time, and it makes me so happy for him. And then oh my God, speaking of Kenny, his two friends.
Yes.
One of them was a never been kissed, by the way. But anyway, when they walk up to the group of Black people and they're like, "What's up, Mike?" But you know what I didn't realize? I didn't realize at the time they used the hard R.
Really?
I thought maybe
it doesn't
matter, but like maybe
it doesn't. I mean, it doesn't matter.
It really doesn't matter. And then they're
like the fact that they said that, and then afterward, fact that afterward those guys try to kick their ass. I was like, yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what should happen.
Yes, because I totally forgot about that scene happening. And when it happened, I was like, what is happening? Because that shit would never happen now. Like, nobody would ever put that in a movie or a TV show now. And you're right. The response that they had was the appropriate response, which is, let's go kick these white boys' asses.
Yeah. Let's go kick these white boys who are pretending like they're Black boys.
Yeah.
Because not only did they culturally appropriate us, but then they insulted us to our faces. So,
which I think was very like, and we didn't see a lot of that, right? Like, we didn't see a lot of that happening where somebody who is not of that race say something like that, and it's just like, like there was an actual action response to somebody saying that, and like, sure, it was for comedic value, but the point is, it sort of reaffirmed this whole like, you don't get to talk that way.
You don't get to say that. Yeah. Like, it's not okay for you to say that.
Yeah.
Period. Yeah.
Period. The end.
Period. The end. Scene.
All right. Well, this conversation's done. We just solved all the problems.
Bye, guys.
This episode is brought to you by Hues by Jules. Hues by Jules offers custom artwork and original prints, specializing in watercolor, focusing on the human form and different shades of skin. If you're looking for that perfect gift for a birthday or have a special memory you'd like to commemorate, visit Hues by Jules on Instagram or find the Etsy shop of the same name. That's Hues, Hues by Jules, JULS. In Roger Ebert's comparison, he likened it to things like Fast Times at Ridgemont High and so on. So to me, that feels like comparing apples and oranges, because the bulk of this film is focused on the party itself. While we do have a little bit of the graduation, that's the build up to the scenario, and we see the resolution the next day, the graduation party is solely like this feel of, this is the last night of our lives as kids. So besides the obvious reasons, how is this movie different from other teen movies of our time?
I just love how many side stories there are, and they go pretty deep. It felt like, with like the band breaking up, like it's like the
Breckenmeyer, we love you.
Forever,
Travis Birkenstock, you are always the best.
We stand.
We stand. Or like the nerds on the roof, just having, also not realizing they're missing anything and having this whole other wonderful night.
They had a wonderful time at the party.
Their lives.
They had a wonderful time at that party on the roof of the pool house.
Yeah. Amanda's, like the night from Amanda's point of view.
Yeah.
The jocks and the girlfriends, Kenny and Denise.
Melissa Joan Hart.
Yes, obsessively trying to get everyone's signature.
Even like, can we talk about how even the letter had a storyline?
Yes,
like,
it did.
Yeah, like that scene where like the letter makes it from the trash to right in front of Amanda, and just like how it was filmed, like it almost seemed like it was one take. It's just like, no, like this is fate. It will get in Amanda's hands.
Yes.
Like,
And even the host of the party had her own like storyline.
Yeah. Which I love. That scene where it was like somebody had drawn on their family portrait.
I like boys.
I like what
it's
she
so terrifying. That's like my actual biggest fear is like a party in my house and like my shit gets ruined.
Yeah.
like when she finally finds Kenny and Denise and she's like, get the fuck out! Like
She
You
broke.
need to get that door fixed.
Yeah.
yeah, amazing.
I like you said, Carly, I think I liked that there were so many side stories, and like it wasn't like in previous movies, it was like there were side characters and that's all they were. Like in this movie, like there's so many side characters, but those side characters have so much like depth to the side character. Like even like, can we talk about what's his face? Jason Segel as the watermelon guy.
Oh my god, the watermelon scene.
Just
I die.
fingering the watermelon.
Just his whole mouth in there too.
Apparently that's his first film too.
Yeah, and then he's like just like stoner. Just
I'm
like
not going to
stoner.
describe to the audience what you just did. I'm going to let them make assumptions.
Just watch
face in there.
Just watch it.
Just watch it.
Yeah.
When they're trying to describe what Preston Myers looks like.
He's a dude.
He has hair. Sometimes he wears t-shirts.
Sometimes, yeah. But like I just like there are side characters who get like that's a memorable moment.
Yeah.
The memorable moment when like Denise is sitting on the couch and then like somebody comes over and sits with her and she's like, "Hey, aren't you in my like reading lab?" And she's like, "Yeah, I was." And like she wants to strike up a conversation. She's like, "I knew it." Like
yeah,
she does go to our school.
She does go to our school.
And it's just like Denise really thought that like she didn't want to go to the party in the first place, but she did it for Preston. And then she went and she was not having fun. You could tell she was not having fun at all. And like in that moment, she had like maybe I'll be able to strike up a conversation with someone. And then it's like womp womp womp.
Yeah.
But you know,
just like meeting every expectation Denise had about this party being terrible and awful for her.
Yeah.
Yes. And then she ends up getting trapped with like a nemesis of hers.
Yeah.
And boning down with him.
And I love the whole thing. We've all had those people who we were really close with when we were younger, and then the friendships faded. And to have that be Kenny and Denise's storyline, and not just like a random person from your school, but like this person that you had this very close relationship with.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's beautiful for Kenny to have, experienced that with Denise.
Yeah.
But then at the end, just it's not my fault you didn't have the flavor.
Fail. Just the fail. And it's what I love about this film too is that you literally get the full high school experience of the social status structure spectrum without having to have it within 24 hours. Yes. It's so good. And I'm just like from the jump, they set it up with like who the groups are and what they're about and like clearly defined without like fully like there's an assumption that the audience is intelligent to an extent, right? Yeah. Like they're not dumbing anything down for you. Like it clearly speaks to the intended audience, which is like teenagers and maybe early 20 somethings.
Yeah. But it's not like, and she's all that, like when they're doing the whole like, prom king, queen, like balloting situation. And Jess' character's like, okay, and the gay club and this club and that club. And it's like, it was like, obviously, like, these people are pigeonholed. Like, these clubs is, like, that's your social group. Yeah. Like, this party was, like, it was, like, the party to end all parties. It was the party where, like, anybody and everybody was going. And what I loved the best was not only anybody and everyone was there, but when the cops showed up, everyone was leaving except for Jamie Presley. That bitch passed out in his chair.
And her boyfriend was like, honey. And she's like,
I gotta go.
And then he's like,
I'm out. He's like, I'm in it for me. I was like, buddy, I don't think you're going to the concert in August if you ditched her at that party.
Right.
I know
Pearl Jam. P.S. Pearl Jam concert. Which, by the way, go ahead.
I was gonna say, remember that girl? She was later in a show called, I think she was in that show called Popular. Yeah,
Popular.
Yeah, with the scissors.
You're all sheep.
I love that scene. I quote that scene all the time.
Yeah.
And nobody gets it. And I'm
just I would get it. I would absolutely 100% get it. Can we just... The thing about this movie, too, is that and what makes it different than the other movies is I almost wasn't really rooting for Ethan Embry. I was just kind of like, buddy, here's the thing. She's out of your league. But she's out of your league, but she's also not, because you're going to an Ivy League school.
Yeah.
And she's dated the same loser for 4 years, and all she has is her looks. But like, she knows all she has is her looks.
And she's so insightful about that. Like, she totally fully comes to terms with the fact that it's just like, I don't know what I'm doing into this relationship with this guy, and it turns out it was probably a mistake.
Yeah.
And like, she owns it. My whole high school career.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. And I'm regretting my decision completely.
Because those little snippets that they do in the beginning of like each character of like what their high school like careers looked like in a snapshot, it's like prom queen, junior prom queen, cheerleader, future plans undecided. Like, she clearly doesn't have direction.
Yeah. Whereas like Ethan Embry seems like to be like a smart guy. He's just been pining over her for years. He's like built it up in his head.
Can I just say though, like, I feel like that's a very writer author type thing to do when you're like a literary type, because you know, he's a part of the literary journal and all these things, and
like unrequited love.
Yes, like he's totally built this thing up in his head. He's written her a letter, and I'm just like, shit, like that is such a like hopeless romantic, but also you're in tuned with like your emotions and put things down on paper kind of situation. Like, I feel like that's.
But like, also, accurate. If I was her, I'd just be like, I'm cool.
If you had gotten a letter from somebody in high school that like outlined all of these things, would that have put you off, or would you have gone chasing?
I would have been like, you're weird. Yeah, I would have been totally like, you're weird.
Yeah, I mean, I think so too.
Yeah, I think like, I'm like, I don't owe you anything. That's what I would be like. I'd be like, cool.
I'd be like, you don't know me. You think you know me, but you don't.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like that's why I never really rooted for them to like get together. But I rooted for everybody else in the movie. It's like I rooted for everybody else in the movie enough. Like, I rooted for Mike Dexter to get destroyed. I rooted for William to become the coolest kid in school.
Yeah.
I rooted for the band to get back together.
I rooted for the band to get
Donald
back together. Donald Faison. He was also like 45 in this movie. But yeah, it was something where I was like, this movie was different in the sense that it wasn't like an anti-hero.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like I was rooting for him as much as I was rooting for everyone else. Like, it was I think this is one of like first like true ensemble movies.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Where you're like, I'm rooting for the entire ensemble here.
Yeah.
Like, I want everyone to win. Like, and even at the end when Melissa Joan Hart and that weird guy are like, like, I don't know what people do to a yearbook. It's like, it's our whole lives. These are our memories. She's like, these are our memories. And they hold hands, and it's just like, it's like, no, but you two weirdos did belong together. So I'm glad that worked out.
Mm-hmm.
I just like this movie not only like showed you like conflict, but it showed the resolution like the next day.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate that you saw all the loose ends were tied up. Except I really want to know what happened to Dharma as the angel stripper.
Oh, yeah.
Did she get home?
Oh, yeah.
Can we have a spin-off movie with just her 40 years later?
Jenna Elfman.
I'm in it.
Jenna Elfman.
Yeah.
Into it, yeah.
Into it? I'm into any. That was like peak Dharma and Greg. I remember when she came on screen, I was like, it's Dharma!
Yeah.
And I was
Danny Elfman's niece through marriage.
So
but also, I'm like, why? That's a really anticlimactic stripper outfit.
Well, I feel like for 1998, probably in a teen movie, it works.
Yeah.
I mean, this is
how she had a harp. Like, why does she have a harp? Why does she have a harp?
Because she's an angel. Angels play harps.
I know, but why does she need that as a stripper?
I don't know, because she's
for the first 30 seconds.
I also loved the whole Barry Manilow thing, where she's like, if you want him, then you get him.
Go for him. Yeah.
Go for it. Like, if you want to be with him, and he's like,
no, that's not what we were talking about. I love Jerry O'Connell's you know.
I love how he's like, yeah, I'm a freshman in college. You're like, no, you are not,
you're
sir.
Not. You're clearly a 30-year-old man. And also thank you for like kicking Mike Dexter back into place, because he's like, no, they don't give a shit about you if you're a jock in college. Like, girls want people who are like thoughtful and you know, into
they want the Williams of the world.
Yes.
They want people who try hard.
Yes, not like a party dude. Because I loved Amanda's comment about Mike. Like, she's like, he's the same exact guy that he was 4 years ago. And I'm like, yes, call people out when, or that situation is calling him out.
Yeah.
When they don't grow.
You need to grow.
Yeah. Hey friends, we're looking for advertising partners. When you support this podcast, you're supporting a woman-owned BIPOC small business. We're looking for other small business partners who want to get in front of an audience of like-minded folks looking to smash the patriarchy and make cultural change. If you're interested, email popculturemakesmejealous@gmail.com to learn more. In 2018, like any good magazine article website would do, The Ringer ran an article titled, "The Beer Has Not Gone Bad, How Can't Hardly Wait Became a Teen Cult Classic," and had this to say: "Following in Clueless's footsteps, Can't Hardly Wait helped pave the way for movies like She's All That, Drive Me Crazy, and 10 Things I Hate About You. It is a time capsule not only because of its loud fashion and Smash Mouth and Blink-182 heavy soundtrack, but because movies like it, major studio teen rom-com flicks, no longer exist. As we aged, so did the concept of an all-out team film. There's a Wikipedia. I know that example is terrible. I understand Wikipedia is not a valid source in academia, but this is a podcast, so we're going with it. That has comedy movies listed from the 2010s. And friends, it's seriously lacking. The charismatic, carefree, yet worried teen comedy of the 20th century definitely had trouble moving into the 21st. But what's interesting to me about Can't Hardly Wait is this: while the movie is a time capsule of an era, its overall theme and tone is timeless, and teens from any generation have found something they love about this movie. So, how does this movie age?
Timeless, classic, 10 out of 10.
Fine family
It
fun.
aged like Gabrielle Union.
Yes!
Oh my gosh.
Too bad she wasn't in the movie.
I know, the only movie she wasn't in.
She was too busy doing Bring It On, I think.
Yeah. I know that another article referenced and compared it to American Graffiti with the vibes, which I know is very Modesto of me to bring it up.
For listeners at home who may not be familiar, George Lucas is from Modesto. American Graffiti takes place during his high school years. Where were you in the summer of '62 is the tagline, and they do an annual celebration of that film in town. Continue.
Which I come home for. It's really fun. So it has those American Graffiti vibes, the up all night, the hot summer nights, the, coming of age stuff. And I think in that way, because I compare it to that movie, which took place in the 60s, I'm like, this is timeless.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
I think American Graffiti is a really good comparison because Ron Howard's character is on the cusp of leaving for college the next day, and Ethan Embry is on the they reference that in Can't Hardly Wait numerous times. You're leaving tomorrow. You're leaving tomorrow. What's the point of telling Amanda now you're leaving tomorrow? There's nothing you can do about it. You're leaving tomorrow. Like, that is so heavily played out.
Unfinished business.
Yes, and same within American Graffiti. It's a huge part of Ron Howard's storyline is that he's leaving. Like, he keeps trying to guilt his friends into doing things with him that night because he's leaving tomorrow. And if Roger, I know Roger Ebert has won all of the awards for writing. May he rest in peace. It might be a little bit of a misogynist in some of his writing, but whatever. It was the 80s.
It's problematic.
I think that American Graffiti is the most comparable film that you could do a compare and contrast to in terms of themes for high school coming of age one-nighters.
Yeah. I even think there's the cute, getting there's the radio DJ kind of aspect of it too, that comes into play and both, and calling into the station. And I don't know. I just think it's that's what it reminds me of. And I'm like, those those are 30 plus years apart. Like, it's amazing.
Yeah.
But there's also just like timeless things like, yeah, kids these days go to parties. Kids these days want their friends to sign their yearbooks.
High school always is going to come to an end. Like, that's never going to change unless you change the structure of school. But the structure of school hasn't really changed in the last 100 years. So
even in the last 2 years, like, distance learning's ending today, guys. It's like, you know what I mean? Like, everything ends, and it's the idea of like, how do you want to finish? And I liked that this movie just did the whole, like, everyone was afraid of change in one way or another. Everyone wanted to close. Everyone wanted to close a chapter.
Yeah.
Like, Mike wanted to close a chapter with Amanda. Freaking Preston wanted to open a new chapter. Also close a chapter with high school. Open a new chapter. You know what I mean? Like, Kenny wanted to, leave high school not a virgin.
Yeah.
Everybody had things that they wanted to do. Like, one wanted to get revenge. You know what I mean? Everybody has like something that they want to accomplish. It's like a bucket list kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I think like every good movie has that aspect that like everybody has something that they want. Everybody tries to achieve it. And then like whether they actually get it or not, that's the denouement. You know what I mean? Like that's how
I didn't feel like anything was lacking. Like I agree with you. I feel like every tiny little storyline got wrapped up in some way, whether it was they're getting busted by the cops and so that's the end of their narrative, or the 6 more main characters. Like, I agree, like, you leave feeling satisfied with the whole story because you have resolution for everybody.
Yeah.
And the only thing that really felt time capsule-y to me about it was Kenny's outfit.
Those jinkos.
Are you going to walk in space? Like, are you going to the moon?
I feel like everything else could kind of play off as a different moment in time.
Kenny's outfit, and then Jamie Presley's outfit.
Yeah,
at the party.
The way her hair's styled.
Her hair, and then her two-piece.
Yeah.
Her two-piece outfit. If y'all go to Target right now, they have two-piece outfits almost exactly like that, but in pastels. And I'm like,
no, we're not doing
not going back. I'm not going back.
I thought your next thing was going to be like, you take it off the rack. You're like,
those of us who lived through the 90s do not want to relive some of the style. And like, when I was watching the newest season of Queer Eye and some of the clothes that Tan was pulling, I was like, nope, can't get me in those jeans again. Like, I was forced into them in 1995. I'm not doing it in 2022.
Well, some of it too, it's like I'm sure Carly can relate because we grew up in the same house. Our parents like enforced dressing pretty modestly on us. Mm-hmm. And so like some of that fashion, I was like, when I see it now, I'm like, I could wear that. And I'm like, but I still don't want to.
Yeah, I totally get that. I think that it's timeless as well. Again, because you have a theme that's never going to die. Like, you have a theme that's sort of always going to be there. And that theme is the overarching story is high school has ended. Now what?
Yeah. It's the WTF.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And everyone can relate to that, no matter what clique you were in or what your plans are afterwards. Everyone still has to go through that.
Yeah.
I also think that like now rewatching it as an adult, it's like, okay, so like, I'm sure Julie, you can relate. Like, I'm probably going to feel like that, like when my kids are in high school or like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
we can relate to that. Like, there's always going to be those periods in our life where it's like, what are we going to do now? Like, we have to reinvent ourselves again. Mm-hmm. And we're always going to have those things. And so it's just a matter of like, are we going to be a William? Are we going to be a Mike? Who are we going to be?
Yeah, who are we going to be? What's interesting?
Adventure.
Yeah, this time around, because my kids 20 years after our high school reunion, Becca, or our high school graduation, Becca. So I'm very emotional about certain aspects, right? Like, because then you reflect when you have a human who's sort of like coming behind you at sort of the same pace. Mm-hmm. Watching these films this time around was hit a little differently because, and when I say these films, I'm referring to the episodes that you two were on with me. because there was so much like hope and promise and idealism, and I had so many ideas, just these thoughts of who I was going to be as an adult and what I wanted to achieve, none of those came true. So then to have the culmination of Can't Hardly Wait and see it again in like that feeling of what I did graduation night, that feeling of senior year, and how much fun I had senior year, it almost makes me really sad, because it was just like, I mean, I know exactly how it all got lost when it all got lost. Like, I'm not going to be delusional in that aspect.
Yeah.
But it motivates me to be a better parent for my child, in the sense of like, we're going to do everything we can so that way you don't fuck up the way that I fucked up. And if you fuck up, that's your business, but it's not going to be because I didn't support you in the ways that you needed to be supported.
Yeah. And I think even like all three of us have like, we've gone through different paths in like the last 20 years, but I think all three of us can relate to the like, oh no, that's where I went off track.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Like we all have like oh, that's where the path skewed away from where it was supposed to go. Mm-hmm. How do we get it closer to that? Or how do we help those around us get on their correct path? You know what I mean?
Yeah. No one is without the fucked upness.
Yeah. And we even had a conversation the other day where I was just like, you're going to become an adult, and being an adult is really scary and it's really hard. And I'm not that great at it either sometimes. So like, just let me know how you need to be supported. Cause I know in my mind, how I want to support you. But if that's not how you need support, then I want you to be open with me and honest about that, so I can support you, so you can do the things that you want to do with your life, and make those decisions and, take the risks that you need to take so you can have what you want when you're 37.
Yeah.
Which is not what I got. Sorry, mom and dad. Oh, is this the bonus part? Whatever. Sorry, mom and dad, for listening. I'm not saying they're bad parents. I'm just saying, I don't think that we spoke the same language about what it was that I wanted and how I needed to be supported at that time 20 years ago.
I also think that's a
new thing,
reflection on their
generation
too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's kind of like the times they are a changing. I feel like the relationship that, what I see a lot, and I say this as somebody, not someone who has kids, but someone who works with a lot of parents, is that the relationship that I see with millennials and later is that we are trying to have a different parent-child relationship than the one that we necessarily had.
I think it's also just an adult-child relationship, because the relationship, this is me speaking as Carly's sister, the relationship she has with my kids is not the same relationship that we had with our aunts and uncles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
some of that's geographical too, but even with our sister who's out of state, I feel like, it's just like, we try and be like way more present and like
more present and like just set the expectation that we are here also, like approachable, which I don't think was necessarily like, our parents were like approachable. Like anybody will say like, oh, your parents are so cool, I love your parents. It's like, yeah, I love my parents too, but like it was hard to be their kids sometimes because they were like really strict, and I couldn't talk to them about certain things. Like going back to the whole party thing, I literally had a conversation with my mom after I'd already had children where she said to me, yeah, but you went to parties in high school. I was like, no. She's like, what? I was like, I never went to parties in high school, Mom. She's like, oh, I just always thought you did. I'm like, so you're saying I could have? Like,
yeah, like what?
Well, they were really good at punishments, and I was the one who got all the punishments. So I feel like everyone after me was like, yeah, that's not worth it. They're super good at punishments.
At least I didn't think it was worth it. Rachel was fine with it. But I think our little sister also was, and it has to do with like that whole like social class thing. Like our little sister was like a cheerleader and popular. So it was like, I think my parents had the expectation, like, she's going to be like in different social situations than Carly and I were necessarily. It was like, what are the band kids doing?
Yeah.
Measuring their penises, like
against their instruments.
Yeah.
That's an interesting point though, because my siblings are so much older than I am. Like they're solidly Gen X. Like I don't think anybody could argue. I mean, maybe somebody could, but they're solidly Gen X. And here I am, trotting along many years later, completely different social generation.
Yeah.
And the things in parenting that worked with my siblings didn't necessarily work with me. My siblings didn't have the internet in high school.
Yeah.
You know, cell phones weren't a thing. Like, there's just a totally different generation when it comes to like
beepers.
that.
Like,
yeah,
we could have paged our friends.
Right. And so this idea, like this, and I think sometimes too, like this idea now that exists about like parent your child the way that your child needs to be parented, because every kid's different. And in a recent conversation I had with one of my siblings, it was like, it all needs to be fair. And so then I started thinking, like, what does that mean though? Because what's fair for me may not be fair for you, because we're different people. We have different needs. We're very clearly different. So like economic statuses at this point. And so all three of us are very different economic statuses at this point. So, you know, it kind of it's hard, I think. And, you know, there are people out there who have a lot of kids that are all far out in age. And I just admire them for being able to handle that. Cause I don't think that I'd be a very different parent if I had any more children at this point in my life to those children coming in.
So what you're saying is we need to get you a baby? Just kidding.
What I'm
hearing is you want to give it a shot.
Baby time. Okay. Noted. Okay. Thank you.
You're like, Carly,
listen, I'm still trying to find a partner who can put up with my weird quirks. Okay.
So hard.
It is so hard. I think I'm delightful and adorable. Like,
I think you are too.
What is the problem? Men, hear me now. No, I'm just kidding.
The problem is geographical.
It is a geographical issue, and we can actually, like, in our actual friendship, we can have that conversation. Yeah. We're not having that conversation on the podcast.
No.
Sounds good.
Yeah. I blame it on Modesto.
Yeah. Well, for me, I love to party. And I love having fun. But in high school, I had this facade of being okay with wild and crazy parties, which in some respects, sure. But again, you know, the loud noises got to me after a while, and all the people and the smells. The truth is, I was terrified of getting caught by my parents, who clearly had no idea how to manage me. And I genuinely did not want to get punished for anything ever at all. Like, I don't know if my parents were good at punishment like yours were, but it was definitely terrifying to get punished. But I tell you what, I have been to my fair share of parties, like the one in Can't Hardly Wait, and they sure were fun. But nowadays, I don't think I would enjoy it ever, like ever. I don't want to be around 500 people, like ever. I want to thank my guests for joining me today. This is the last appearance for this segment that you will see them, and it has been such a joy, and I'm so happy that my high school pals, people I experienced high school with, were here to talk about high school movies that came out when we were in high school. So, Carly, Becca, can you please tell people where they can find you if they want to keep up with you?
Sure. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook at Tidy Revival, where I'm talking about all things home organization. Or at tidyrevival.com.
You can find me on Twitter at Becca Montes, where I talk about being a mom, my love-hate relationship with the Sacramento Kings, and a lot of breastfeeding content. So
my love-hate relationship with the Sacramento Kings. Golden.
It's hard to love them.
Yeah.
Hard to love them.
Yeah.
But she's funny as hell. So follow her, folks.
It is pretty entertaining. I do agree. Pop Culture Makes Me Jealous is written, edited, and produced by me, Julia Washington. If you love our show and want to support it, there's a few ways you can do that. You can become a supporter on Patreon for $10 a month to receive ad-free episodes with bonus content. Or you can write a review and rate the podcast wherever you find your podcasts. And lastly, if neither of those things is your style, you can find us on Instagram. Give us a follow and share our video clips with your friends. We're on IG as Pop Culture Makes Me Jealous. Thanks for tuning in, y'all.